You don't hate yourself. You just don't recognize who you are. That's what Psycho-Cybernetics told me in its own surgical, practical, no fluff language. And it landed like a punch, not the motivational kind, the kind that knocks the wind out of you and leaves you still enough to hear what your own mind has been whispering all along. Maxwell Maltz wasn't a philosopher, he was a plastic surgeon. But what he learned wasn't about noses or scars, it was about identity. Not just how we see ourselves in the mirror, but how we carry that image into every room, every opportunity, every relationship. And how that image, accurate or not, becomes our operating system. This book didn't just tell me to love myself, it showed me that self-image is the control center of my behavior. You can't outperform it. You can't permanently act out of sync with the way you see yourself. And that changed everything. Let me walk you through how. Your life is a printout of your self-image. Maltz saw something strange in his practice. Patients would undergo successful surgeries to fix what they hated about themselves, a crooked nose, a scar, a facial deformity, and yet some of them still felt ugly, unlovable, inadequate. Others, after the same procedure, transformed emotionally. They became outgoing, confident, joyful. The difference? Not the surgery, the self-image. If someone still believed they were broken, no scalpel could change that. This cracked open something in me because I'd always chased behavior change with sheer will. Be more disciplined. Stop procrastinating. Don't let fear win. But I never thought to question the identity that was creating those behaviors. I thought I had a time management problem. Turns out I had a self-concept problem. When Maltz says we act like the person we believe ourselves to be, he doesn't mean metaphorically, he means mechanically. Your nervous system, your beliefs, your habits, they all operate like a servo mechanism. You give your brain a target image and it works to fulfill that image just like a guided missile. But if your target is, I always mess up, or I'm just not good with people, or I'm the kind of person who can't finish things, then your brain isn't malfunctioning when it sabotages you. It's doing exactly what it was programmed to do. That revelation knocked the blame out of me. I wasn't weak. I wasn't hopeless. I was misprogrammed, and that could be fixed. The imagination is a tool, not a toy. We treat imagination like a child's plaything, a place to escape. A cute little daydream. Maltz calls it a scalpel. It can wound or heal depending on how you use it. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between real and vividly imagined experience. If you rehearse failure every day in your mind, imagining being rejected, picturing things going wrong, catastrophizing every possibility, your nervous system internalizes those outcomes as practice. And guess what happens next? You get good at failing. You're not unlucky, you're overtrained. When I read this, I realized how skilled I had become at predicting disappointment, not because life always gave it to me, but because I had made disappointment my mental home. It was familiar, safe in a twisted way. If I imagined the worst, I couldn't be blindsided. But that's not self-protection, that's self-poisoning. Maltz says we must use imagination, not just indulge it. Visualize success. Picture conversations going well. Practice walking confidently into rooms and do it daily, like a workout. Because you're not changing the world when you do that, you're changing you. And the world mirrors back what you expect of it. You're not stuck, you're attached. One of the most brutal truths in Psycho-Cybernetics is this: we cling to our past pain because it justifies our present limitations. Let that sit for a second. We build identities around what hurt us, around failure, shame, loss. We tell ourselves, I'm like this because of what happened to me. And maybe that's true, but then we never rewrite the story. And we wonder why we keep reliving it. Maltz doesn't dismiss trauma, but he says that memory is a recording, not a prophecy. The tape can be replayed, but it can also be rewritten by reframing how we see it. By choosing which parts to emphasize, by defining ourselves not by what happened, but by what we did with it. I had always thought letting go meant minimizing my pain, but it doesn't. It means choosing not to be owned by it. Dehypnotize yourself. There's a line in the book that felt like it was written directly to me. You must stop acting like a failure before you can become successful. That doesn't sound deep, but I reread it 10 times because I was acting like a failure. Not because I wanted to, but because I thought I was one. And even as I made progress, I explained it away. I downplayed it. I expected the crash. That's the hypnosis of past identity, a trance you don't know you're in. Maltz says we can dehypnotize ourselves through rational thinking. That's not as boring as it sounds. It means questioning your automatic thoughts, challenging your conclusions, asking, is this true or just familiar? It means replacing generalizations like, I always ruin things, with specifics like, I messed up this one thing and here's what I learned. It's slow work, but it's the kind that builds a new nervous system, one where you're not constantly flinching from yourself. You are not your emotions. We treat emotions like sacred truth. If I feel like a failure, I am a failure. If I feel anxious, something must be wrong. Maltz disagrees. Emotions are feedback, not facts. They're messages, not commands, and most of them are based on faulty premises your brain has repeated so often they feel real. He teaches that you can observe emotions without obeying them. You can talk back to fear, you can sit with guilt, you can question shame, you can even laugh at some of your oldest patterns, and in doing so, you reclaim the driver's seat. This changed my relationship with anxiety. I stopped trying to get rid of it and started asking, what belief is this protecting? That took me down some dark hallways, but I walked through them and came out knowing myself better than I ever had. Confidence isn't a trait. It's a skill. I used to think confidence was either something you were born with or something you fake. Maltz says it's something you build. And you build it by focusing on creative living. Not perfection, not performance, just the act of doing. Confidence grows when you stop grading yourself on outcomes and start immersing yourself in action. You don't become a confident speaker by waiting until you feel ready. You speak. You don't become a confident writer by comparing your drafts to published books. You write. And with each act of doing, your self-image recalibrates. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to be confident and start seeing yourself as someone who does things. That's how identity evolves, by doing, not waiting. Forgiveness, the ultimate self-image reset. The chapter on forgiveness hit a nerve I didn't expect. Maltz frames it not as a moral duty, but as an emotional necessity. Holding on to anger, resentment, or guilt keeps your self-image frozen. You can't move forward if you're dragging chains behind you. He calls it emotional surgery. You remove the scar tissue not because the other person deserves it, but because you do. Because the weight isn't theirs, it's yours, and your nervous system can't tell the difference between hatred and harm. It just knows it's under attack, even if the attack is internal. Forgiveness, then, is a gift to the future version of yourself, the one you're becoming, not the one who's still fighting ghosts. Who you think you are is just a habit. This is the line that broke me open. The self-image is not based on truth. It is based on belief, and belief can be changed. We act like identity is sacred, immutable. This is just who I am. But Maltz dismantles that gently and surgically. Who you are is a habit, a pattern, a set of rehearsed thoughts and behaviors that you've called me, and habits can be changed. It won't feel real at first. You'll say new things, think new things, visualize new outcomes, and your brain will push back. That's not you. But keep going, keep rehearsing, because the brain doesn't cling to truth. It clings to repetition. Feed it new images often enough, and it won't just accept the new version of you. It'll start rejecting the old one. How it changed me. Reading Psycho-Cybernetics didn't give me a motivational high. It gave me permission to outgrow old narratives, to visualize a new way of being, to believe that confidence, joy, peace, they weren't far off ideals for better people. They were trainable, practicable, reachable. I started speaking up more. I let go of labels I had worn for decades. I changed the way I rehearsed conversations in my mind. I stopped asking, well, what's wrong with me? And started asking, what image of me am I still clinging to that no longer serves? This isn't a book you read once. It's one you absorb, practice, return to, because you don't become a new person by reading a book. You become one by acting like you already are, and your brain will follow. And if you've ever felt stuck in old patterns, like something inside you keeps pulling the brake just as you're about to accelerate, then Psycho-Cybernetics might be the book that unlocks you. Not because it changes your life, but because it teaches you to change your own. Subscribe if this resonated with you. We're building something real here, one book at a time, one reflection at a time. And if any part of this hit home, tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear what you took from this one. Let's grow through this together.